Okay, now we're ready.
When did it go? All right, we will go ahead and call the July 28th Finance and Administration Committee meeting to order. And anybody that's online, thank you for your patience. Technology is great when it works. All right, public session to receive comments. Anyone want to take off their committee hat and be a member of the public? All right, and we'll move on to presentation and discussion items, an update on current projects.
In your packet, you have the conclusion from our 2026 projects. Hal and I are still putting together the 2027 sheet update to it. So if you have any questions about anything on that, just let us know. But for the most part, it was a successful year. The only part that really I think caused us any difficulty is when we had that failure of final clarifier number 3, and it caused us to reauthorize funds from projects that were to be approved or that were approved to reinvest in a plant to fixing that final clarifier, because that was deemed a critical component to our operation. So those projects that were to be funded last year and were put off are in the works for this coming year. We're about to, hopefully today after this meeting, I'll issue the request for bids for that, as well as some pump station improvements as well. So any questions you may have about anything going on from last year or for the coming year, I'll be happy to try to provide you with an answer.
And I already know the answer to this, the consent order reports, those have been, it shows only through 24, but those have still been done.
Yeah, that's correct. Those the most recent one was submitted back in May. Yeah.
Any questions, comments from the committee? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you for that. Lot of work done last year. Received the provisional June and fiscal year 26 financial reports. Chris Lynn, who wants to take this one?
I'll go ahead and take it. So this
Okay.
is the preliminary or provisional year-end financial report that we'll have. Lynn still has some year-end closeout items that will be entered into it. So does that typically go through the end of this month or into early August annually?
It goes into August.
So those are mainly to pay for invoices that we had received for work that was completed or performed through June 30, but we received the invoices after the year or any other such project that requires reconciliation for work that had taken place during that budget year. So thus, the year-end financial reports, as in the past, will go before, once it's finalized, will go before the full board for consideration. But today is just a provisional for you to see. So this one does not need any approval, just for information purposes only. Are there any questions about anything on this report? And again, I expect it to be September before the final one is presented to the full board.
Are there any questions, concerns?
And I should state that this one also was sent out by Ms. Stevens on July 21st to the board.
So this is the same one?
It is.
All right, well, we will receive this one as information. Obviously, if anybody sees something and has a question, just reach out and ask before we have to vote on them. So we'll move on to action items, and this will, I guess, be page 3 of the packet. The May and year-to-date financial reports, and this one we will vote to accept. So do you want to give a short overview of these?
So that's correct. The same thing. This one typically would have gone to the committee for consideration for approval if we would have had a June meeting, but without the June meeting, we went ahead and pushed it to this
Yeah.
month again as a formality to bring it to committee for consideration. And any questions that you may have in this one, certainly let us know. I will state what I stated at the board meeting almost 2 months ago now, that we do still continue to notice the trend regarding user fee revenues, particularly on the non-residential side. So that is something that I'm going to continue to track, but we do not think that, at least I don't think that we're going to meet our revenue projections for fiscal year 26, and it's going to be because of the reduction of the amount that we receive, particularly on the non-residential side. So we're about breaking even from best I can tell overall with what we're collecting from forecast residential revenues. But last time I checked, we were about 7-8% below what we were anticipated to receive for non-residential customers. And the way that we have fees, the fee is structured is that it cost us, according to a consultant, about $6.40, $6.60 per 1,000 gallons to treat and process wastewater. Our residential rates lose money, so we collect less than $6 per 1,000 for those, even with the 3% rate increase that was approved. But we make up for that on the non-residential fees. So
But
try
with
to
that
kind of
going
meet in the
down-
middle, and with that reduction in the usage on the non-residential is what is dropping it overall. So we'll continue to track that as we move forward.
Are there any questions about the May or year-to-date financial reports as presented? All right, is there a motion to accept these?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on them? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We'll move on to action items to recommend to the board for consideration, our leak adjustment policy. That would be Exhibit D, the last page of your packet. Sir?
All right, lastly, last page of your packet, as we discussed at the board meeting back, I believe it was on June 1st, there was a section 7.2 of the schedule of fees that addressed leak adjustments. And it was discussed at that time to have Lawrence put together a recommendation from his part to bring forth to this committee for consideration. So this is what Lawrence had put together. We ran it by, once we got it, I sent it to Mr. Bronson. He said it looked good to him. So this will come to committee for consideration to take to the full board for this coming month. Now, with Lawrence's recommendation, since this has to do with a financial related matter, Lawrence recommends that if approved here today, it goes before the board for consideration to approve for public notice, so that it would go out for public notice and be considered after a public hearing at the September meeting. So that's what will be presented at the board meeting if this is approved moving for that today.
In order to set the public hearing.
That's correct.
Has everybody had a chance to review this draft? Are there any questions or concerns about it? Any recommended changes? Since 3 is highlighted, is that up for, is there a reason, it's highlighted for negotiation or
Yeah.
anything?
That was one of the items that Lawrence felt that you may want to look over and consider to see if, make sure that that was okay with everybody. But that was the one area where he had that in there for any discussion that, whether it was a committee or for the full board, that would be one area. So if you do have comments and it can be approved as presented today and then considered by the full board, and any changes at that time be made for the approval to take the public notice.
And I can see that that would probably be the one thing that you would get public feedback on as well, because we, with our water leak adjustments and the only being able to claim one every so many, that's the biggest complaint that, maybe not complaint is the right word, frustration. Not understanding why they can't get one, say annually or something like that. Do we have any data that shows how often we're getting?
We don't have many at all. I think we've only processed just a handful. Maybe 5?
I don't even think there's been that many.
Yeah, most of these occur at the municipal levels before they reach us. I think
we've done 2.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's right. I think they were both in Walhalla, weren't they? Does that sound right?
So is there a reason that should it mirror whatever the municipalities are doing, or is this truly a standalone that y'all don't care if it matches the
this-
cities or not?
Well, we're fine with it mirroring. I'm fine with it staying at the lowest level possible because we're still going to rely on what the cities are doing with their policies. So, but I think it needs to be uniform across, because there will be times where, in these cases, where it did reach us, where somebody had paid, and then several months down the road, we have to go and issue. I think we had to go and cut a check, didn't we, for those? So there are those couple of times where they do reach us because the customer's already paid a bill to the municipality, and those funds have been transferred over to us. So there will be times when we will have to process that, but I think it would need to be uniform across all cities as to how we would do that.
Are there any other questions?
So, we got on here that adjustments should be made based on the running average of 4 months, not including the leak period. So basically, you gotta make sure they've got 5 months at least of history, account history.
That is a good point, because we have had some in which it's been a new customer and they may only have 1 month.
And
I don't think you can really do it with just 1 month. I don't think that's enough to go by. You don't, if it's a leak during that time, you got no background on them.
And this is certainly an area where I call upon the experts like you guys, because we're not in the billing business. We don't see the month-to-month individual meter readings to know. So, but you guys do. So that may be a good point to bring up when Lawrence is here. Some of these real-world situations to see how those would be addressed. And if you want to send me any questions or call me with any questions, I can relay those to Mr. Flynn and have him prepare an answer for those whenever we, do convene in next week?
Next week. Okay. And the other thing, all of this is fine, but just comments from the past, 6 weeks to do a determination, that's going, if somebody actually asks for it, but it doesn't sound like you've had many of those, but if somebody requests it, they're not gonna like 6 weeks to get an answer. Typically they're standing, any of
wanna
the
know,
cities, they're
right.
standing at the counter wanting to know right then.
Mhm.
There's a process they go through, and I mean, typically we can give them an answer right then, we verify if they've got their information. We'll take, if they go buy parts to do a repair and they've got receipts, things like that, if they have a plumber, they got a bill, something that proves they had a leak and where it was, we'll take that and just let them request it on their account, and then it's documented. But if you truly think it's going to take 6 weeks, you can probably expect some pushback from anybody that requests it, because that's.
So what would be a recommended time frame from us? Because again, this is gonna be after any adjustments may have been made before the funds reach us. So in these couple of cases that we have here, I don't know what the delay was, but it was after the money had already been transferred from the city to us. So there's gonna be, no matter what, there's gonna be a week to 2 week delay because of the way we have to process the check and have to have the signatures made for that to be refunded. And this, again, this is a document that Lawrence put together. So if that's something, if you have a suggestion for what that should be, I'll be certainly happy to pass that on.
I'm wondering if you even have a timeline listed at all, because there may be some cases in which, like you said, you can, while they're standing here, you can get it done. And there may be another one just because of that particular case and having to go talk with municipalities or them bringing in information from a plumber or whatever. It might take 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But do we even need a time frame listed in this policy?
I think it would be good to have a time frame. I can certainly understand where 6 weeks would be a long time. I think that we do need to have some type of a buffer in the event that a person on our end, be it maybe Miss Stevens or me or Jake, somebody that would be in a position that could make a determination, would be able to make a recommendation that yes, this needs to be refunded, or to contact the cities for more information.
30 calendar days?
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at this, you add up the 6 weeks plus the 60 days potential for a check. I mean, that's another, 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think the check, it shouldn't be that long. It shouldn't take quite that long.
Just looking at it, that's 14 weeks to get a refund.
But I could see
You're
it,
right, I think.
2 weeks. I could maybe see it, certainly a couple of weeks at least, in the event again that someone here is not available. We don't have full-time persons overseeing and billing like a municipality would, and then a couple of weeks to get a check cut. I think the goal would be 4 weeks or less from beginning to end. So I do think those timeframes that he does have in here certainly could be, or a little extreme.
Yeah.
Is there a date or a number of weeks that you'd like to shoot for?
I don't know, because that's, like I said, that's kind of far into the way we've operated on the other side, because it's right now, okay, 5 minutes, you're done. So you adjust the account. But I guess in this case, the city didn't make any changes on the account. It would just, they would pay whatever's on the bill, and then if it's approved, you would do a refund check.
How about if I get him to consider something about along the lines of, shall review each complete leak request and issue a determination as promptly as possible, but not to exceed 3 weeks or 15 business days, or.
Well, just kind of, the more I think about it, I mean, most of the cities are different on how they do a leak adjustment. But if they approve an adjustment, would that not suffice as approval for the authority? Because they're already determining, they're already making that determination. I know their criteria is different for how they do the adjustment, but as far as agreeing that there was a leak that qualifies for an adjustment, I mean, I think Walhalla was 6 months. I mean, was every 6 months history in 3 years, one every 3 years. Same as this. Well, if you change that to 6 months, but
I think this is also going to be for customers that don't pay to a municipality as well, so what about those? I mean, I guess it's
Well,
departmental water, but.
Well, we don't, we only collect one payment directly to us, and it's a flat rate, and it's for the gentleman across the street that's on
So
the
he would
well.
never
So,
see a difference.
so even Pioneer handles
Pioneer handles
the. handle it.
they're the retail portion of it. What about if I do this? How about and I don't know the best way to do it now.
I mean, if that's a dumb idea, it's something, I just think
No, I
they're
don't think
already
so.
doing that, going through that and vetting the request, so that way maybe you could save time on this end and not have to deal with as much if you just piggyback along with the city's process. I mean, verify how they do it, but most, I think, are gonna operate the same as far as verification that there is a leak.
Mhm.
And then, have a form that's got, average usage, it shows the calculation, it shows what the adjusted amount would be, and then you can base any refund that you choose to make on that.
Mhm.
That way, basically the hard part's already done. They do that with the customer standing there, they verify that the repair was done, when there was a leak, the amount, the gallons.
Mhm.
I mean, most, I don't know if Seneca does, but if there's a leak and it's outside and it does not go, it's not anything that enters a drain that comes to the system, they go ahead and adjust it off anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's an easy one. They'll put it back on so
And
they do those adjustments there.
Yeah, and it does state in here, up in section 3 that we shall follow and apply the leak adjustment policy, and determination made by the applicable retail sewer provider.
Yeah.
So that part I think is already in there. I think the biggest thing to do on our end is if that's approved by the city or, Pioneer, I guess, is the only one because they're not in the sewer business at all.
Yeah.
So we would have to make those determinations for Pioneer. But I think it's baked in there. So essentially what you're saying is at least for the wholesale portion of the system, that once we receive that notification, even if it's after the money's been transferred to us, that we essentially don't need to go through and make the determination. The determination's already been made since it's stated that we're following the city's policy, and we should just cut a check within a couple of weeks, correct?
That's why I'm thinking it would just save some of the process, save some time and save some headache maybe on this end. Not on the end. Does that sound like it would for you? Or-
Yeah.
Well, now that I look at this, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but now that I look at it, all of the last 2 paragraphs that appear to be standalone fall under section 4. So that bottom portion only applies to the retail customers anyway.
Okay.
Correct?
That was how I was interpreting it, because it was in section 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your direct customer. basically.
Well, yes, sir, that would be right.
Okay.
But I do think the time is a little excessive. I do think we aim to have it less than that. So if you're good with that, I may ask him to modify that to like 21 calendar days for the beginning, the first portion of it, and then
Yeah, and
like
I would.
10 business days to
Yeah,
have
I
it.
would definitely not
check.
say 60 days, but whether it's 15 business days or something like that. Not that I think it really needs to be 3 weeks, but sometimes.
Yeah, I had in my head retail customers and retail customers on the city side. So yeah, that didn't click.
Is there any appetite from the committee to look at the frequency and to consider more often than 3 years? If it doesn't sound like there's been that many of them, is there any desire to look at annual? And if you're concerned that it'd be taken advantage of, to still have a, no more than 3 in a 5-year period or something like that, to make sure people aren't taking advantage of it, but if they have a older home and they're doing upgrades or something, you know, sometimes you don't catch all the leaks at one time.
Well, how about if I propose this, that for the section 2, that the frequency limitation, that we may only look at doing something like that for the retail customers, and then the wholesale customers, we would
City
fall back on
policy.
the city policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
That's-
was the reason at the beginning I asked about to mention the cities or not, because I don't know if all three, like you said, I don't know if all three cities have the same time
They're
frequency or not.
yeah, they're a little different, but I think that'd be the safest. Just fall back on the city.
Okay. So what would it be for the retail?
That is
Community members?
up in the air.
I think if you go 1 year, it's going to get. You don't have to like come in every year and won't get one of their bills dropped. But I mean, I'd be fine maybe with 2.
Just trying to be as customer friendly as possible. But like I said, I mean, I understand that if they're taking advantage, you know, is there a no more than 3 in 5 years or something like that to where there's flexibility? But if committee likes to, can we suggest 2?
I'm good with it. I'm good with 2.
So if the section 2, let's see if we can get all these things in one amendment so we can get a recommendation together. Section 2 will refer to retail customers only. Otherwise, it will mirror whatever the local municipality or whoever is accepting the payments on the sewer authority's behalf. It will follow their policies. And then under section 4 for the retail, we'll have Chris and Lawrence look at reducing the reasonable time period of review and check issuance. Is there any other changes we want to recommend?
So what I'm gonna make a note on here, and I'm gonna pass on to Lawrence, just so we have it on the record, is for the final paragraph, I'm gonna put on there, generally not to exceed 21 calendar days in the first sentence, and then in the final one, within 14 calendar days.
Or do you not want to just do 15 for 3 weeks?
Well, 15,
Okay.
that would be business. I'm looking at
Calendar,
doing,
I apologize, my mind's, I've only had one.
but I can
coffee
do
this
21.
morning.
We can do 21
No,
calendar days.
you're absolutely correct. Need that second cup of coffee this morning, sheesh, okay. Committee fine with 21 and 14 calendar? Alright, and we'll, okay. Are there any other changes? Alright, can I have a motion to recommend to the board this draft with the changes that we have discussed?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Alright, assuming no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the board, please say aye. So we'll move on to the director's discussion and compliance matters, miscellaneous, sir?
The only miscellaneous item that I have is that we know we have 2 more change orders, at the very least, 2 more change orders are going to be coming up regarding the dewatering project. One, we've already, the board back in 2024, I think it was October 2024, they pre-authorized for me to approve up to a certain amount. We're going to hit that certain amount with the change order that I just approved yesterday. All of this is for the SCIP funded project. So what I will be bringing to, and this all came about just yesterday, there's 2 more valves that we need to replace down on the dewatering project. From what we understand verbally from RIA is that the SCIP grant they will fund those, but we're waiting to get some type of written confirmation back that they will pay for that, and we won't be responsible for paying for it out of pocket. So with that said, what I'm gonna seek at the board meeting is to ask for an additional pre-authorization from the board to approve any additional change orders up to a certain amount, be it $100,000, whatever the determination may be after I discuss it with RIA and with Monica Ram with the COG, so that we can process the next one, which would be, I think, change order number 5 for the replacement of those valves, which is in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000, plus any others that we may foresee that would absolutely 100% be approved and paid for by the SCIP grant. But I'd have to have it worded with that as a strict caveat that if it's questionable that they'll pay for it, then I will not approve it without coming back to the board for authorization to approve it. But this would be only for absolute reimbursement by SCIP, that we have confirmation from them in advance that they do. Then we know we'll have a settle up change order at the end of the project that typically is just going to be a materials quantity adjustment or something that's going to be along those lines. Any questions about that or thoughts about that?
If RIA and SCIP will approve and allow you to do it, I mean, definitely use whatever funds they still have, they don't want back.
Well, we're kind of running it to the end of the project anyways, because they want to have all of the paperwork in September, sometime early to mid-September at the latest, and the project's moving along fairly well to meet the deadline. So we're not foreseeing any issues. They did come across this one valve that absolutely had to be replaced, and they said while we're at it, we can replace the other 2 associated with it. And then when that, Skip said, yeah, we would, or RA said, yeah, we could fund that. It's not a substantial change, so we're just waiting to get confirmation back on those additional 2. I've already approved the change order for number 1 that was, again, within the limits that were pre-authorized for contingency amounts by the board back in October 2024. So we just have, I think, $1,000 or less in pre-authorized contingency for me to execute, so which isn't going to be enough to do anything anyways. So I'm tracking all of that on my own.
Any comments from the board, anything additional you'd like Chris to have on Monday? Yeah. Thank you, sir. Committee member discussion, is there anything that committee members would like for staff to bring up at a future committee meeting related to finance or administration policies?
Yeah.
All right, well, that was quick and easy. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
So we are adjourned at